We talked about peace and how peace meant different things to different people, and how that there were different aspects of peace. And I want to talk for a few minutes about one aspect of peace that is very near and dear to God's heart, and that is justice. And it is fitting, as Christina mentioned earlier, this location, because if a person decided they wanted to get married in a courthouse, their wedding ceremony would be officiated by a man called the Justice of Peace. So then, what do we mean by justice? Well, simply it's rightness and fairness in the way that everybody is treated. Okay? Now, there are two aspects of the Pledge of Allegiance that I would like to address. The first is the last phrase there that says, with liberty and justice for all. And then the first part, the second thing I want to address is the first part that says, I pledge allegiance. Okay, so I'll deal with liberty and justice for all, then I'm going to come back and deal with what it means to pledge allegiance. Now, what does liberty and justice for all mean? All means everybody, regardless of your race, your sex, your gender, your sexual orientation, your religion, your background, whatever, even your criminal status. That's what all means, all inclusive. However, we know in this country there is a category of people who do not experience liberty or justice. And that category of people is ex-prisoners, ex-convict, felons. They do not experience liberty or justice. They experience discrimination. They experience alienation, oppression, dehumanization, perpetual punishment. The list goes on. Now, one may ask why? Why the perpetual punishment? Why the dehumanization? Why? Well, the main reason is financial. There is a profit motive. There is an economic motive. Now, money is not bad in and of itself. However, when it comes to matters of justice, money has the ability to taint justice. Money has the ability to adulterate justice. Okay, and money has the ability to miscarry justice. Ecclesiastes 5:8 says this: if you see the poor oppressed in a district and justice and rights denied, do not be surprised at such things, for one official is eyed by a higher one, and over them both are others higher still. In other words, oppression begins at the highest levels of government, and it trickles down into the different layers of bureaucracy. But God sees the oppression of the poor. God sees the oppression of felons under the color of law, under the guise of law, under the subtlety of law, backed by the powers that be with political and economic motives. And here's a quote that I'm paraphrasing from Coretta Scott King. She said that you cannot piecemeal freedom or justice for the purposes of political and economic convenience, political and economic gain. You cannot grant freedom and justice to one set of people and deny it to another set of. You cannot grant freedom and justice to one stigmatized group and then leave the other stigmatized group without justice. That in itself is injustice. And her husband, Dr. King, said an injustice And injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Now, and I'm almost done. In conclusion, what does it mean when you say you pledge allegiance? To pledge allegiance is a serious promise, a solemn oath to someone or something. So in the case of the Pledge of Allegiance, you pledge allegiance to the flag. You pledge allegiance to the republic. You pledge allegiance to one nation under God. Okay, you pledge allegiance to unity. You pledge allegiance to liberty and justice for all. So with that Pledge of Allegiance should come a sense of justice, a concern for mankind. We are obligated to speak and to act against injustice, even if it means civil disobedience. Okay, we have to care enough about the oppression of our fellow man. And if I see a crime being committed and I do nothing about it, I am just as guilty as the one committing the crime. Because though I saw what was happening, yet I failed to act, I am just as guilty as the one committing the crime. So we have to speak up. We have to act whenever there is injustice. Whenever we recognize it, we are obligated to speak up and to act on behalf of our fellow man. In the parable of the Good Samaritan, the priest, he saw the Good Samaritan on the ground, and he asked the wrong question. He said to himself, if I stop to help this man, what's going to happen to me? Okay, the Levite did the same thing, walked on the other side. They asked the question, if I stop to help this man, what's going to happen to me? Okay, but the right question is, if I don't stop to help this man, what's going to happen to him? Okay, that's the right question. And that's caring, that's unity, that is bringing peace. Silence does not necessarily mean peaceful. Okay, and where there is no justice, there should not be peace. Okay, all right, so justice is connected to peace, and that's all I have for you. May God bless you in your march. Amen.